Welcome to Framework. This is John, one of the hosts of Framework, and with me, as always, the other host of Framework, Al. Good morning, Al.
Hello, sir. Are you ready to talk about House of the Dragon again?
Yeah, it's the morning after. We just had our last round of Hot D for the season, and it'll be back in probably 2028 or something. But we've got the complete season 3. We've seen it. We're going to discuss it. It's all spoilers. We talked about this 4 weeks ago, something like that. The mid-season.
Yes, we did. I think it was the exact midpoint of the season there, because this is an 8-episode season, not too terribly long, fairly eventful. Particularly if you can find it. If you look at the premiere and the finale, very eventful. Apparently it's part of this show's ethos that one of the main characters must always spend the entire middle stretch of the season stranded at Harrenhal, doing absolutely nothing.
Oh, okay. What the hell is going on here, man? Why are they subjecting us to this? What is Alice's Rivers? Why is this in here? Is this important?
Kinda. Well, okay. So here's
to reiterate: I have not read the book. Al has read the book, so he knows what's going to happen. I don't.
And I'm usually very, very averse to spoilers, but I don't mind for my own ethos to tell you sort of like what is definitely going to be happening immediately next with him, like at the beginning of next season, because it's like, why wasn't this going on all this season?
Sure, lay it on me.
Else.
Listeners beware, that's coming. But
yeah,
what?
So in the source material, he does not get, when he goes to Harrenhal, he doesn't get injured necessarily. But he does find out that sort of he's been duped, and Rhaenyra took the city out from under him while his back was turned there, and the army that he came to kill is gone already. Mm-hmm. And he just kind of gets mad and starts going on a rampage and flying his dragon around the Riverlands and just burning random places over and over again, trying to basically provoke them into attacking him.
Okay.
And so they've clearly set up that he's going to now do that at his brother's behest next year, because that will sort of lead him to the final, the final resolution of this war, more or less. I'm trying to be very, very vague on that front, but clearly could have just been doing that instead of having weird sex dreams in a tree bed all year, except that their budgetary requirements require somebody to spend a good chunk of the season having weird sex dreams in a tree bed.
This was already one of the worst parts of last season.
Mm-hmm.
This makes no sense to me. Every time they cut back there, I was like, you're shitting me with it. A character I like even less than Daemon doing the same plot line. I couldn't believe it.
And surely they thought that there was something clever about having their Harrenhal arcs mirror each other, right? Like,
oh man, it's just where story momentum goes to die is Harrenhal in this show. I couldn't. Yeah. Okay. That's my biggest complaint with the season is that shit.
And Alice Rivers, interesting character, interesting bits of lore dribbled out there here and there. It's just there's not enough to do. I mean, she's literally cursed to not be able to leave these walls, and we understood that emotionally, if not intellectually, going into the finale. We all felt that for years now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like we're stuck there with her. It often felt. So yeah, this is sort of a silly character, as it turns out, and it seems to in no way kind of inform or deepen or improve the rest of the things going on in House of the Dragon. It's just that we've spent 2.5 hours, 3 hours of screen time hanging out in these bad sets. Not bad, but not appealing sets. And
well, no, yeah, you lose affection for them over time for sure.
Yeah, and just kind of redoing the same scene over and over and over. We're getting some Freudian stuff, I guess. That's an innovation this year, but I don't know. Daemon seemed to have some of that going on too.
Had a sex dream about his mom too while he was
right. Yeah, I just don't get it, man. And I'm almost to the point where I hope it doesn't pay off, because I like it so little that I just want it to be excised completely from this narrative. I right out the gate with this, with my Harrenhal anger. Sorry about that. But man, I it's just the Hail Mary pass of she's a ghost or whatever. I was so frustrated by that. Okay.
Well, okay. So We're not totally done with that. I will say this in the vaguest way possible. There's
Sure.
at least one more sort of story beat they have to do around there. That is one of the absolute highlights of the book. That anybody who read the book is like, yeah, that's one of the big reasons to do the show. You have to do that thing.
See, I'm missing stuff like that. That would be great.
I don't know that it's
although-
going to make you feel like we had to go through all of this to get to there. Like there is certainly a straighter path.
Well, maybe
to
we
it.
can do another
Still available,
season
but-
of stalling and waiting. Maybe we can send somebody else, another weird blonde-haired freak, to kind of like linger around her for an entire season. There's plenty left, so why not, right?
That's true. Okay. I mean, well, so this is the thing about this. And my every time we talk about this, I harp on structure and the decisions they made about like the big giant decisions about where to start this story, where to stop the seasons, and particularly like how to which characters to focus on, and how we are so tight zoomed in on Targaryens and Valerians as more or less the only people that matter here. I made some effort with Hightowers this year, but it's like, again, it's a bit giant structural thing. When you don't start that focus until season 3 of a show that everybody knows is only going to run 4 seasons, you kind of know that Ormond Hightower is not going to be the winner of this war, and not even really going to like be the big bad of the series.
Yeah. I mean, I think it was pretty evident, I would say, shortly after his introduction, he's the level boss of this season. He's going to be the guy they fight at the end of this season. But that'll be that, no more Ormond Hightower after that. And maybe he could have gone down in the penultimate episode, but he was like the villain of the season. It felt a little stalling.
And being able to see that coming is not like automatically deadly for the character or the show, and it's actually goes down, I think, quite a bit smoother if there's a fair bit else going on.
Performance is
in other parts of
good.
this world, and he doesn't have to carry as much of the overall sort of conflict and tension of the show as the Ormond character has to this season. With that, big flashing light over his head that he's not long for this world.
Indeed. Gawain works as a foil to him, and you were right last time we spoke about him being one of the highlights. He really proved that in the back half of this season. He's definitely one of the characters I ended up caring most about all year. It's funny, his story is basically to go from one annoying lunatic to another, essentially. And I think the performance
and
for Ormond...
they all tell him to fuck off.
Yeah. I liked Ormond's performance more than I liked Kristen Cole's. Kristen Cole was always a problem for me on this show. I'm glad he's dead, and it was ignominious. But but Ormond was at least fun in his megalomania, which, is something that this show could use some. Fun megalomaniacs. We have plenty of megalomaniacs. They're not much fun.
That's okay. That's the problem again we get to with trying to make the megalomaniacs also sympathetic.
It's tough.
Characters. But one thing I want to say about those big overall structural decisions, the way that they manifest a lot of the time is that you get the same show feeling like it doesn't have enough time to get through all the material it has, and it seems to be moving too fast and too slow at the same time.
Yes.
That is
always been a problem for this show, actually.
Very much so. We are kind of speeding through a lot of things, and then also it feels like watching the same scene over and over again. And that's a problem. That's something that you should probably, go back to your whiteboard in the writer's room to try and iron out better. But it's a bit late now.
Yeah, I kind of just want are we sure that this next season is the last one? I mean, I feel like I read that and I was confident of it. It feels like we got 2 more just based on nothing, honestly. It just feels like this is the middle, It doesn't feel like we're wrapping things up here.
And I don't think you would feel that way if they had done a little more to depict the other, like 2 of the big battles from the source material that they kind of glided over past this season for one assumes budgetary reasons.
Sure.
And I think if we had sort of taken a more direct route through those big events rather than skirting the edges of them, then you might feel like, okay, there's been kind of enough of this. If we had built up a couple more characters and killed them off rather than just leaving them off screen entirely, you might feel like we were getting closer to the end than you do.
Okay, well,
That's
fair enough.
Kind of theorizing, but
I mean, it feels like we're still introducing characters sometimes, and there's it feels like a refusal to let go of this cast. Like I keep expecting a bloodbath here, and what are the big deaths of the year? It's Kristen Cole and Ormond. That is it, man. No one else dies. So, Helena died. That's right.
Helena did die. She ended up getting more screen time than I would have expected for this stretch of it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, okay, but let's talk about. Do you want to the big? Probably I would cite the single biggest flaw of this season, and I think something that will haunt the show's cultural memory probably is Alicent.
It's a shame because one of the better performers on the show, I think.
But that's like clearly they know that, and they want to keep feeding this actor, and but they just can't figure out anything to do with it that makes the slightest bit of sense.
Just plate after plate of shit served to her, man. I swear to God.
And I kind of feel like the conversation, or at least like maybe among writers or whatever, like Alicent will go down as the example of like maybe a tendency of this particular era storytelling of sort of petting the rabbit to death and trying to find ways to make the character sympathetic and just biffing it so hard. Like if she was just allowed to be a little more venal and like, properly angry about the things that have done to her and a little bloodthirsty, that would go down so much easier than somehow they think, well, the audience thinks of her son Aemond as a villain. Therefore, her trying to poison him to death will be a sympathetic thing for her to do, which I really feels like how the show is thinking of those scenes. And I'm like, that guys, touch grass a little bit, get a fucking grip.
I think the intention is we are rooting for her to poison her son.
I think that is, but that's not something we can root for as much as we want her son to die. we can't want her to want that.
This is like exactly what made Cersei so interesting too.
Right.
That she was a good mother.
I never wanted anybody to die as much as her kid.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it was frustrating and annoying, and you're like, well, can't you see what he is? And she's like, yes, I can. It doesn't matter. And that's why there was so much depth to Cersei. And I mean, now they can't just do the same thing over and over again, though God knows they're trying with other characters. But like it is a night and day difference, And I would think that Olivia Cooke has the potential to be a really good, interesting Game of Thrones character, and this one is just, this one was for a while. Alicent was one of my favorite characters for a while, and it's become a real problem.
In the first season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very much.
Bits of the second, she starts sleeping with Cole as like an interesting wrinkle for those two, and then they just again it's like old school. Like, well, we signed up. Like the premise of the show was that Rhaenyra and Alicent are the leads, and so we have to like keep giving her storylines as if she's a lead character, even as we just don't have the material to feed this character.
I said that like an Olivia Cooke is kind of a star thing. I mean, is she though?
Maybe she's in Britain. I don't know.
She's like a bigger deal than most of the cast. Yeah. She's in movies. She's in Ready Player One. She's in stuff. Oh, okay. No, but she's, I don't know, she is one of the better people on the show, performer-wise. I find her to be a good actress. She's getting it done. Yeah.
Well, but the show doesn't lack for good performers. It just it just has to stop giving them the same scene over and over again. I don't know how many times I've seen Daemon profess to Rhaenyra that they are invincible dragon gods, and then sort of immediately go to being humbled by his own like sort of lack of tactical genius, and being kind of chagrined about that, and then doesn't seem to like internalize any of that for the next time he goes and tells her, no, we can do whatever we want if we just let ourselves off the leash. And then, like there should be some It's Always Sunny music going on with him. It feels like sometimes
He's a bit of he could be in the gang actually, and he would fit in pretty good. And
he would.
It's
Yes,
Always Sunny. He's another really good actor, kind of adrift with this character. I do like the idea that Damon kind of sucks, and the show seems to be kind of acknowledging this at this point, that he's actually not all that, maybe, despite his reputation. It's a bit of a smokescreen, perhaps. That's fun and interesting, a little bit. He kind of fucked up
he can
that
handle
last
himself
fight.
with a sword or whatever.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Well,
But he's no Jamie Lannister, maybe. I don't know. Well, they're all kind of poor versions of their ancestors in the original series. So
yes.
I don't know. Is there anyone in this show that is like really kind of doing their own thing and standing out in an exciting way? I mean, well, Gwen, I guess. I am enjoying all the kind of guys who are just trying to survive. Like, if there's a guy who's kind of just like, oh shit, this now? Oh, okay. Gawain is definitely the king of those. Orwyle we talked about. The Lannister is definitely one of those guys. Tyland, I believe.
Yes, he's kind of that way. He's a little higher up than, say, Dan Folkler. But
yeah, him.
He's in there. Oh crap, I just had somebody and now I lost him.
Well, it's a lot of them. And they're like the best parts.
The young Tully boy, I like as sort of. So the thing that people talked about with the original series is how they aged up all the younger generation a couple of years from making, so they make more sense in the book. And that Tully kid is sort of a more okay. The book Robb Stark's like 14 years old when he goes to war, and this is what that would kind of look like if you got a pretty competent 14-year-old leading a war, and but that's not something we saw super directly in the original series because they aged up the character to look more like, what we think of a teenager as looking like, which is a 26-year-old playing a high school senior.
Yeah. I mean, that's just standard and we're used to it, but it is kind of fun to see a guy whose voice is still changing.
And it's different. Yeah. That's what I say. Like, it's not something we saw precisely in any of those 8 seasons. He's
also got scenes with Tommy Flanagan, who, despite not having a character to play, is still a lot of fun.
Yes. They let casting do 80% of the lifting with that character, but no argument there. It worked. Like, for the amount of screen time he got, incredibly effective. Whatever, number of innings played is his, whatever the Moneyball rating is for that character. He got a lot out of screen time. Like, I thought they had really not done enough to build him up to do one of the only things I remember about him from the book was that he's the one who kills Ormond Hightower. I'm like, you made Ormond into such a big villain. Is it going to be satisfying to have him taken out by this guy? And it's like, no, you've kind of done the work because Tommy Flanagan just embodies the idea of the North in this show so much. And also it's like, it's sneaky how you did it, but we know, as much as we like this guy, we know that he probably smells strongly. And that plays into his final showdown with Ormond.
He's fun. He's having a good time. And that stands out on this show. Like, a character who's happy to be there is unusual. And he's kind of, it's infectious, I guess. I really enjoyed I think he's the MVP of the last episode, honestly. I loved how they set him up to be like, hey, you ready to go die for your queen? He's like, yes, I've been waiting forever.
Can't fucking wait.
Yeah. And you think okay, well, they're just getting ready to fight, and he's just going to go in there, berserker style. But no, he's like, I'm going to fucking die today, God damn it. And if I'm not dead yet, I'm going to keep doing this. And I'm going to keep
I will find a way.
And then he finally finds it at the end. He's like, hell yeah. And that's a lot of fun. That's great. And he also sodomizes Ormond with a Bowie knife at the same moment.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he's got a lot of stuff on his side.
I'm not squeamish about the violence there or whatever. I don't think you need the line of oh, that's a proper northern fuck it. It's like, yeah, we see, we get it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't need my hand held through the blade sodomy. Anyway. No, it's okay. So look, we started with all the negative stuff. still find so much a lot to like about the show, and especially I thought this was quite a good finale. It helps that Allison had 2 scenes and no lines there, but there's certain things about this show that it are broken and can't be fixed. I'm afraid Alicent is one of them. I hope that Aemond is not entirely one of them. I mean, although you're going to fast forward these scenes on whatever you watch, but he still has time to do some interesting stuff next year.
I'm
not next year. Obviously, we're talking about like 2032 or whenever they air the 4th season.
I'm afraid at this point. I think I don't like this show, man. I think I gotta be like, it's not a very good show. I'm gonna finish it, obviously. I mean, it's definitely worth my time to finish it. I've come this far.
There's 8 more episodes. It's not that big of a commitment.
And I want to see them all die, but I think it ultimately has decided the question for me that this doesn't really work. And I don't think it is. I think it's mistakes made on the ground, honestly. Like the premise that all this stuff seems like it could work. There are definitely challenges in the adaptation. The number of megalomaniacs being a big one, but ultimately, this should be more compelling than it is for me. I should care more about these characters than I do. And I mean, there's precious few that I'm engaged with at all. I kind of mostly just want to see them go down.
Yeah, and stuff we've already touched on before. I think that the number of megalomaniacs is one thing. The show's attempt to deal with that by making some of the megalomaniacs sympathetic to modernize in a way that sort of softens their megalomania, but they still have to make all the moves that a megalomaniac would, and that doesn't ultimately work out. And that's what you talk about, like the idea of trying to make an empowering Game of Thrones product. I see the steps that get you there, but it's also there's a fundamental misunderstanding of the misapplication of the premise, and it's just kind of struggling against itself at every step of the way because of that.
I mean, is it even trying to be empowering at this point, though? Like, is it even really like it wants these characters to be sympathetic, and that seems to be. It's not going well. Like Rhaenyra finally took a turn this last episode here, where she was kind of crazy and allowed to be kind of a psychopath, and that was good. That was the best Rhaenyra activity in a while. I mean, it's the same episode where she has a little meltdown crying when she finds out that Aegon is still alive, and Daemon basically has to calm down, Jesus Christ. So it's a work in progress, but at least we're getting somewhere here. Like her big crazy person speech, that was maybe Rhaenyra's best moment. Certainly Rhaenyra adult version's best moment.
Yes, okay. So, I mean, I like that. Okay, a couple of things there. One, yes, I actually like the way they've depicted Rhaenyra sort of unraveling as soon as she took the throne.
I mean, it turns out it's not empowering at all.
Yeah, and I think the way they depict that's actually been really interesting this season and good. It's helped that it's gotten her like shuffling between 3 rooms instead of 1 back on Dragonstone. But so I can see the argument for having kept Rhaenyra sympathetic up till this moment makes this turn more effective. I think the problem is there was something that played false about keeping her sympathetic for the prior years, and that people were feeling in the moment, and especially because these seasons have so long between them, we've now lived for years with this feeling of like the show is holding back somehow with her. They're like there's an effort to shield her from having made her own bad decisions to a degree, and I think something about that just didn't work. Even though I could see like in theory, having her been more like Daenerys, where she was very sympathetic for multiple seasons, this turn is more effective having kept more sympathy on her side. But yeah, it's not. I do like where things landed here. I love I actually really liked the application of the prophecy stuff.
Yeah, because that's all correct is the thing. She's not wrong.
She's not wrong. Prophecy is such a tricky thing for me as a like fantasy nerd who also is, really irreligious in real life. And so, and also not liking spoilers, when you're putting fantasies or prophecies into your fantasy, they do kind of have to be true or else it doesn't feel narratively satisfying, but also you don't want it to just be a flat out spoiler. And also I like I can't think of many other fantasy products outside of A Song of Ice and Fire that are able to play into like, if there are real prophecies in this world, real magic or whatever, that also opens up lanes for people to just very basically trick and con people. Like for Stannis to buy into the idea that he is the prince who was promised, when it's like, well, you definitely are not. And I like, okay, so tying the prophecy stuff into this show originally, some people didn't like that right off the bat. And now, especially in hindsight, I'm like, that is a good way to have kept Rhaenyra a little more sympathetic for a while longer, giving her a sort of, at least a veneer of a higher calling that she can keep falling back to as a reason for this. And now to deploy it here, where she's just sort of lost patience and like it's this secret legacy of her family that now she started telling everybody about. And then when she says it to the crowd is like, this sounds like fucking crazy person talk. And also It's like, you're ranting about how like my family was chosen to survive, be the only survivors of the fiery doom of old Valyria. And if I'm in that crowd as one of the King's Landing citizens, I'm like, why does that make me feel better? Like, it didn't go so well for the citizens of Valyria when your family's destiny came through. So it doesn't sound like it's going to help me much when you embrace this new savior destiny.
Yeah, I mean, I complained about the excess of dramatic irony last time, but this was a pretty good deployment of it in a couple directions. And again, yeah, it muddying the waters with Rhaenyra was long overdue, and I'm glad we got there. There's some weird things I didn't totally approve of that got us to it, mostly involving Mysaria. Is that how you say it? One of the few performances I said just flat out doesn't work on the show. Even Alice Rivers, I think, is giving a better performance. Didn't like the way this character was used as the sort of the conscience of the queen, I would say, when she is plainly sort of a manipulating schemer the whole time and not one I'm interested in to boot. So, shipping her off, I like.
at its best, something like Game of Thrones can play with that idea that somebody can be the conscience, in The Sopranos, Silvio Dante can kind of be the conscience, Tony's conscience in some ways. That doesn't make Silvio a good guy. He's just not as outwardly gross as Polly a lot of the time. And I think that, and I mean, it could be good character complication and depth for that character to be both a schemer who's also at least telling themselves that their schemes are serving a purpose of, advancing the welfare of the common people.
They lay that on us late here.
Yeah. You would also need a better performance to pull that off. And I agree with you. That's one of the weaker performances on the show. Maybe not the weakest because Rhaena's still out, bumming around there.
Indeed.
Making bug eyes at sheep stealers. But that's the other bad one.
Yeah.
Most of them are good, though.
Most are good.
I enjoy, most of the scenes on the show are good. It's just that they don't. I mean, that my perspective. I'm not.
Most of the performances are good. I would say most of the performances are good. I think a lot of them are very good. Even I think Aemond, for example, is a terrific actor, stuck with some weak material this year. That happens. Again, I think kind of Aegon and what's this guy's name? New Varys. Larys.
That's why it's hard to keep them apart because
they're kind of still the highlights for me performance-wise. I think they're both great, even if I'm not wild about the characters or the decisions made for them. Just the actors are actually kind of pulling that across on their own. And it got more interesting in the second half. It kind of gave some more twists to what their deal was. And I don't know if I totally buy where we ended up, but you know what? It's okay. I'm interested to see where it goes from here. And I'm curious about where all those people are now. and I guess Thailand is with them as well too. Another character I like. So this remains a quadrant of the show that I'm most invested in, I would say.
Yeah.
That's hopefully they're able to pull Aemond away from Harrenhal for it.
He's got to get out there and do some of this stuff. Like, I don't know what else you could do with him. Anyway, that surprises me that that's your favorite part of the show. It's maybe it's informed by reading the source material or whatever, where a lot of that stuff is like off the page. So it's stuff that because that's the sort of how it's presented, is that Aegon just sort of disappears when she comes into town and doesn't reappear for a long time. The show, I guess it's bowing to realities of TV production in some ways. We kind of have to keep these actors under contract to bring them back eventually. So we may as well follow them through their what could be just off-screen time.
Well, we are just doing the Jaime and Brienne, traveling through, the wilderness plot line again, humbling the arrogant royal person, and it's not like the Whipping Boy, the young adult novel. I don't know if you remember that one. It's kind of the Whipping Boy, and I really like.
Since I've read that one.
I really like Larys. I think he's maybe the best actor on the show. Apparently he's playing the Joker on the new Batman cartoon, and I'm almost just like, maybe I should check that out because I like him on this so much, and that helps. That's all, and he's doing things that are interesting. His scene when he tells Aegon what a piece of shit he is, that might be my favorite scene of the season, actually.
Yeah, well, and that's a turn for those characters in that relationship.
Yeah,
after having watched them perform the same scene 4 times.
Yes.
Okay, here's the 5th time. It's something different. That's the pro shows. I mean, the reason why the comparison to Jaime and Brienne doesn't fully compare is that Brienne was
much better.
Yeah, I mean, and that's probably because Brienne's the most sympathetic character on that show, the most sort of honorable person on that show, and these are both scumbags. It's just one's kind of a smart one and one's a dumb one.
That's true.
So, I mean, maybe to the better. It's not recreating everything exactly one-to-one the way that the prior show did. Mm-hmm. Although it feels like we cite that as the differences as a weakness more often than a strength.
Well, I mean, it's not. I mean, it's like half and half. They definitely want to mirror a lot of the stuff that worked originally, and I don't know that it's deliberate kind of commentary so much as it is just well, you like this Star Wars Force Awakens, that kind of thing. And I'm not sure. It varies scene to scene, maybe even. And I think a problem that they do have is that, even when you got a good scene in this, 9 times out of 10, there's like a similar but better version of that scene in the original series.
Yeah, I guess that's just kind of a problem that you run into eventually. There's so much Game of Thrones material between all the books, these big long books, and all these prior seasons of the show that are so sprawling.
And adapting from novels,
it's hard to find something new under the sun.
Also, adapting from novels that are written in a strict point of view style. The chapters in the original Game of Thrones books are so explicitly character based. You are in their heads, and that's why you're so invested in a lot of them. And it's why they had such an easy time bringing it to the screen. I've come to kind of believe is that we had such a clear idea of Arya or any of them basically from the page.
But certainly as an actor. Mm-hmm. You've got so much material to inform your performance there, even if it's not, the scripts of the show you're being asked to act, and then you have supplemental material that gives you really detailed files, to work from the way that you're not going to with this show. But also it's it's also adapting this big sprawling world that also it's high fantasy told with this very specific ethos. And that's sort of, constrictive. That's why part of why I think people found Night of Seven Kingdoms so refreshing is that it found sort of a corner of how optimistic can we get with this thing without betraying the general entire vibe and fabric of the world.
Well, I mean, it's very, very strictly within that one guy's POV, Mm-hmm. It feels like that is a if you took out like one character's plot line from one of the original books and just stitched that together, you would basically have Knight of the Seven Kingdoms.
Yeah, maybe. And I think it's okay to have both too. Like, I'm not saying that Knight of the Seven Kingdoms success proves that House of the Dragon should like not have been made. I just
No.
I think you could easily have done both. I just think they made mistakes with how they approached House of the Dragon from a 10,000-foot level. And I got into this in some length in the mid-season episode we did, so I don't want to go over all of it again. But it does become very apparent that every single like dollar of effects budget or spectacle, it has to go to something touching a dragon. And so I complained about the biggest land battle award being sort of like we cut into it after the fact in the first episode of the season, and then we get in the second to last episode this sort of big 4-way dragon fight that is completely invented from the source material at all.
Right.
And I'm not saying that I didn't juice things up to have a little bit of dragon action there at that point in the season or anything, or that it looked bad, or that it didn't have some interesting character conflicts that came out of it and was worth doing dramatically in some ways. But it is striking how once I have that in my head, okay, the dragons get all the money, and then everywhere else is where we have to cut corners, and that's why we got to keep using those Harrenhal sets. We can't do an actual battle where Kristen Cole dies. We have to kind of condense a month of his travels in the book into one scene, and with 10 extras instead of 1,000. And so that's frustrating. Like that again. I don't like part of the pleasure of Game of Thrones, particularly once you got out like the first season of the first show was this is where the most expensive looking show on TV. And
right.
To feel the budgetary constraints affecting what's being put up on screen punctures that in a way that I don't like.
I mean, I don't know if there's a way around that. I think you kind of got it right creatively. And this was not, I mean, look, in the first season of Game of Thrones, they were, pretty flagrant about like, we're just not going to show the battles. We have X amount of money and there's nothing we can do. It was still great though. It still worked. It wasn't a problem. So there's ways around it. There's ways that if you're invested in the other stuff, that's going to not be a big deal,
But that's, our introduction to the show, and for a lot of us, the entire world was that. And so our expectations had not been set yet in this regard.
Yeah, that's true.
You can't go back to Game of Thrones season one style of scope for that scale of events.
Especially not this story, with the Dragon Wars. It does have, though, that said, I mean, one of the better things about this season is it opens and closes with a great battle scene, a great medieval battle. Yep. The Battle of the Gullet in the first episode, probably my favorite thing they've done on House of the Dragon, at least action scene wise. And then the second one would probably be Tumbleton at the end of the season here. These were well staged, well realized. I like how the dragons fight. Caraxes in particular is cool, and it works. All that stuff is fun.
Well, the only other big battle they staged was Rook's Rest in the middle of the second season, where Rhaenys, many Rays died, and I like that. I thought that was really well done too. And the dragon stuff there was good. So like when they've done it really well. Mm-hmm. It's just I feel them shying away from some of it, but it's also they backed into the Gullet being a great opening to this season by way of not wanting to pay for it at the end of the second season.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I would one thing I do miss that I would like them to do from Game of Thrones is just one episode that's just a fight. Tumbleton could have been just a one episode fight, where we stay with the perspective of
we lock into one location.
Yeah, 4 characters, and they're on the opposite sides of the war, and then that would have been fun and appropriate. Maybe it's the penultimate episode, and we can do some of the other stuff in the finale. But structurally, I would have enjoyed that once, and it doesn't feel like it has to be the most expensive thing in the world, especially if you spend half the episode kind of setting up your storylines that are going to be resolved. That's how they handled like the Battle at the Wall or Blackwater. You know, some of the great episodes of the original show.
Yeah. I mean, there's other. I can't disagree with you there because those are some of the best episodes of TV ever. Yeah, and it's a thing that like it can't be like, well, they just make every episode that. It doesn't work that way. But you, as a thing you do once every other year, it was those were great highlights of the original Game of Thrones experience.
And I don't know that Tumbleton necessarily has that sort of importance in the story here, but I wouldn't say that, I guess it could, none of the major characters go down during it. There is some change of fortune, but, like we said, Ormond was kind of.
But that's what. Well, no, I mean, as I explained this last time too, is that like only one or two major characters died there because they decided that there weren't that many major characters. Like they could have been spending a lot more time with the Tullys and the Winter Wolves and the Hightower army. So it's not just Ormond and the guy from Andor that is his second in command. John Roxton is the name of the character. But I don't expect anybody to know that just from watching this show.
I could have used more of this stuff, more Tumbletown, actually, throughout the season. Because I think some of the better scenes of this show were there. I think, as I said, Ormond, a good actor. Gawain, a good actor. I enjoyed what they were doing with Prince Darren, too. I thought that was kind of interesting. I liked the performance there, too. The fact that they were kind of like, oh, shit, this guy's crazy. What are we going to do? That was a fun story to play out. I could have used more of it. And if the way to do that would have been to kind of beef up that ensemble, the Tumbleton ensemble, so we can have more stories taking place there, which come to more bloody ends at the finale battle, I think that would have been a really good thing to do with this season. And maybe a longer episode count would have helped with that, too.
I will say that one thing I thought the finale did kind of poorly is it didn't handle Hugh the Hammer, the other guy.
Oh, they were uninterested in him, yeah. Mm-hmm.
But he has the biggest investments what's going on there. I mean, he abandons his post in King's Landing because his wife is there, and then he finds her dead eventually. And yet I don't know that the actor had a single line. I think he yelled his wife's name. Maybe is the only line he had in this episode. And that felt like a weird thing to like focus so much more on Ulf than on him. I mean, I guess Ulf was supposed to be part of it and he wasn't supposed to be part of like the plans of it. But the other aspect, the way that was portrayed is we see sort of soldiers busting into the house of his wife, and then he finds her dead later. And then at the end, when Helena has killed herself, I felt like the show was trying to be a little more tasteful about violence towards women than Game of Thrones had always been traditionally, and so we got like kind of see one spike, nearly bloodless, sticking out of her head. I'm like, I don't know. You need to pull these punches as a Game of Thrones show. Like, just you can be a little more gory about that. Like, that's supposed to be an upsetting moment. It's not like we don't understand what happened, but you could kind of.
Yeah, I remember. I mean, this is the show that did the Red Wedding, man.
Yeah.
Like, this is some famously kind of graphic, nasty moments, and this show doesn't really. I don't. Have there been? Wait, has there been anything?
This is also. Gore, sure. Especially early, I believe they threw a severed penis on a stump in the first episode of the whole series.
Yeah, and there was a real nasty cesarean death, I think, early on too.
There was some disembowelings in the earlier part of the show. I think it's more these are kind of like, especially because they're sympathetic female characters, and we don't want to get into slasher mode or whatever exactly, but. Yeah. Again, I think you can't do a Game of Thrones thing that's too tasteful. That's not exactly the idea. I mean, it goes against the idea of the thing. And actually, this is one thing that we did a pretty long episode on the Odyssey, but one note that I didn't get to in my notes was like how it's just like when you do the sacking of Troy sequence in the Odyssey, it's very effective, and yet I was very aware of how Nolan's just a director that doesn't go in for gore, much less like any kind of sexualized violence there. Like, and I can't say that sequence is not effective, because I think it did get the point across in the Odyssey, and yet I did wonder, like, if this was more like a sequence from the Northman in terms of how bloody or graphic it's willing to get, is that a more effective version of this show? And with some of the stuff here and the violence here, I'm like, it's not that the ideas don't get across. Like, I know what happened and all that, but am I just being flat out bloodthirsty by saying, yeah, show me a little more gore, or something a little more horrifying?
There is sort of a disconnect in that the world has been established to be a world of gore and cruelty, and that's sort of kind of one of the things about that we like, honestly. And so that is a thing, and you can feel them pulling the punches a little maybe this season, which is a little surprising because we're kind of getting to it now. But I don't know. That didn't jump out to me, but you're not wrong. I mean, this is the show where, Ormond was sodomized with a Bowie knife, so it's not gone.
Even that, like, it's like we see any blood spurts or, I mean, but we're walked through exactly what's going on.
That's a proper northern fucking. So it's still there, But yeah, I mean,
I guess
you
it's
can
weird
note the moments where there's like, I would have probably gone farther in the past.
Yeah. And I guess it's weird to be that tasteless in one scene and then put things tastefully off screen in the next scene. Feels a little odd.
Well, they were just so uninterested in Hugh in general. Like they never found an interesting way to present that character or write for him, and don't seem to care much about him. Like I'm ready to care about that character. Hedge Knight, who's now a dragon rider, what's that do to him? That seems like
he's got some. I mean,
ground.
anybody who has a dragon has something left to do in this story.
I'm sure.
That's not without getting into spoilers. He's got some stuff to do.
Still. But he could be one of the standout characters, I'm saying, and he's not. Ulf is, I don't know, I kind of like that he sucks so much. He's just an idiot who sucks. I think that's funny, and it's funny that he's consistently disappointing, even as he swaps sides.
Yeah, he's immediately walks himself into the exact same treatment that he was rebelling from Daemon, and he gets that same thing from Ormond.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I mean, a different type of megalomaniac, a different type of person than what we're getting in so much else, and that's kind of a nice change of pace from that character, even though the character sucks, as a person and a dragon rider.
Yeah, he's real fucking dumb, like to the point where you're just like, man, that's extra dumb. Jesus Christ. And I guess that there's variety in that. There ain't anyone else quite that stupid on the show.
Right. Yeah, don't mind his role at all so far. It does feel like I said, I mean, I don't know if it's about tastefulness or whatever. It just felt like they didn't quite decide until like post-production what Hugh's role in this battle actually was, to the point where you get like Daemon turning around going like, he's not supposed to be here. What's he doing? Oh, never mind. And they just kind of they didn't quite decide what they wanted from him in this moment. Yeah. So anyway, not a perfect show, but man, I still like this world so much, and a lot of the performers. I mean, I can complain about they're cutting corners here and there, but the textures of everything, the dragons look great. The costumes are wonderful, and the weaponry is fantastic.
Sure.
I'm glad these armors are getting work. I like this stuff.
All right, I'm gonna make a very weird comparison here that is meant to indicate that I have hope for the final season of the show, though, which is that I'm reminded of the vampire show, the Guillermo del Toro vampire show, The Strain. Have you ever heard of this program?
I watched the first season, maybe the second part of the second. I had read the book.
Gave up because it was kind of bad.
Yeah, it was bad.
Yeah, I watched the whole thing. I watched all 4 seasons of it, and here's the thing. 3 seasons are bad. I'm not sure why it continued in my household. We didn't have a kid at the time. Me and my wife kind of were like passively watching it and making fun of it. It gets to the 4th season, and all the shit starts to happen, and all of a sudden, the show turns really good. The show becomes really, really satisfying, pulpy, and weird. I mean, they make a big change at the end of the third season, which is basically the vampires win and take over New York City. And so the third season is all about the resistance humans under vampire rule. There's collaborator humans that they're fighting too, and it just becomes all of a sudden really blown out and interesting world creation. And everyone just starts getting killed off. Everyone has their final deaths and their comeuppances and their victories, and it's satisfying and fun. And it really felt like it paid off our investment in this dumb show that we didn't like very much. And then we kind of loved it in the end. It was a lot of fun to get to the finish line. So it is possible.
I think there's something about that comparison that works, because with only one more season to go here, there's sort of like there's nowhere left for the show to run.
Yeah, just do it.
Some of the stuff.
Just do it. Yeah.
They're going to have to just do it. And so, yeah, maybe, I mean, my concern was that the big battles peter off from the source material a bit, and then it takes a while to like resolve all of the main characters' storylines. And we're going to run out of spectacle halfway through the season, but I think they've kind of punted so much stuff off that they're going to have plenty of spectacle. And it should be the most eventful of the seasons.
I imagine. I mean, if the body count is as high as I'm led to believe, it would have to be, because no one died this year.
Ormond, Cole, Helena,
and that's it. That's it.
Yeah,
none of whom I call
our good friend Roderick Justin. Obviously, rest in power. Or Northern Band.
Is that Tommy Flanagan?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Well. Yeah. Sure. But no, I mean, we have many people on the board who I'm expecting to see go down.
Well, we also like Jay Saris, the Prince, and Rhys Ifans.
Oh yeah.
Died.
Otto
I think we're kind of. I think maybe we're mentally shuffling that into second season fatalities,
right?
Because it was the part that was clearly cleaning up the second season's loose ends.
God, again, why not do all that shit in season 2? Whatever. It doesn't cost extra to cut off Rhys Ifans' head.
No, true. No, but you had to get Rhaenyra into the city first, and that has to occur.
Why couldn't Aegon have just cut off his head? That would have been great.
Oh, yeah.
Well, anyway,
I was going to say, like, because it's important to the Rhaenyra-Alicent relationship that Rhaenyra is responsible for killing Alicent's father, except that they don't commit to that actually affecting the relationship. So. Anyway, trying to end on a more positive note, but there we are. We'll be back in, God, whatever it is, 6-7 years they do between seasons now.
It's very CGI heavy, and, there's a lot of negotiating with the actors and the writers and such. So, obviously there's no way to do this in less than 36 months, something like that.
I mean, yeah, they couldn't come to a deal with the actor who plays Vhagar. So and movie commitments. So we got no Vhagar this year.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's in talks for the new Nightcrawler. So what can you do?
Yeah. I mean, I guess you got an eye of the future. Good job, Vhagar. All right. Well, thanks for indulging me on this, even if you don't like the show.
No, I mean, I'm sorry I don't like it more, but I'm in for I'm in for it now. In for a penny, in for a pound. I want to know. I want to see how this plays out, and it's not awful. It's not like it's terrible or anything. I'm having fun. Ish,
All right. Well.
All right.
Yeah, I don't know what our next show will be, but we'll be back on TV.
No doubt. All right. Thanks for listening.